Episode 26, part 1.
Part 1. New version of the series here a bit, kind of like a little more history based.
Yep.
It's cool.
On one of our most nerdy topics.
Totally. One of our all-time fave brands.
Yeah.
The, Yeti Cycles.
Yeti bikes, yeah. So, fuck. Whoops. I don't know about you, but that's like one of my, this brand is like, for me, this was like my entrance point into like upper echelon bike nerd skills.
It brings all the bike feelings back, man. Like it's one of those ones where it's like, it was pretty much one of the first bikes I ever wanted to own. When you're a young kid, you're ripping through mountain bike action, you're like geeking out, you're like, oh my God, this is so cool. Oh, yeah. And you know, you're watching guys like, we'll get into maybe some racers later, like Jimmy Deaton on ABC coming down Kamikaze race. Like,
I think like, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was the October 1990 issue of Mountain Bike Action.
Well, I like you got the month. That's
and
good.
Greg Herbold was on the cover and had like a big clicked like turn down tabletop.
Yeah.
And he was either on a Yeti Ultimate.
Oh, really?
Or a Fisher CR7. I can't remember which. Both bikes were reviewed in that article, or in that month rather.
Interesting.
And
this
he was
pre him with Miata then?
Yeah, he was working as a tester. Like he was on Miata, but he was testing bikes for Mountain Bike Action.
I forgot about that.
And I'm sure, I'm not sure, but it was like, that's where I remember reading about Yeti and being like, oh no. And then you got into the racing and all the like Tomac and all this, just the old legends. And just
so many cool dudes.
Ultimate nerd factor.
It's pretty crazy how many, like, if you just think of like all the greats that at least kind of floated through there.
Yeah.
It was nuts. Obviously, Parker started it. Mm-hmm. Do you want to do a quick recap on the?
So what are we, like mid 80s? John Parker starts it out of the ashes of an older bike company, and that was still in California.
Yep. And
then they moved to Colorado around 90 or late 89.
Is that when they went there?
I think it was 90-ish. Actually, no. Late 80s anyways.
Yeah.
And started doing like kind of the race scene as us young 90s racers knew it.
Tomac, Furtado.
Yeah.
That's where I got started to get geek out before Tomac went to rally when he was racing.
Yeah.
Well, this picture, like, that Zap took.
Yeah.
It's like so cool.
Well, is that the drop? He's on the drop bars there.
That's a drop bar Yeti with the Manitou 1 on it. It's like,
I remember watching.
When I was a kid, that was like, I was geeking out hard, man. Holy cow.
I remember watching, I don't know, one of the Norva races, I think, and he was coming down some sort of like a cat track or something at one of the ski hills, and it had water bars across it.
Yeah.
And he was just wide open in the drops.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking like,
this guy's crazy.
Holy smokes! Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, they really took me into the world of being like a techie geek.
Totally.
Like all their work with Easton and the stuff they were doing. We talked about this. Like
they were kind of like an expansion. Like if you go back to those, like Fat Chance was kind of the really cool thing. Kind of before them, I'd say. Like Fat Chance was cool at the same time, but maybe a little earlier. And like then Yeti really, I think, took it to a next level. And then when Frank the Welder showed up, and like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, like guys like Frank the Welder.
Hold that frame down,
Yeah, like you look at like when they started to do stuff like this. I mean, we think of aluminum bikes now. We're kind of like pretty blasé about it. But when these guys partnered with Easton and like Chris Herding and Frank the Welder were doing stuff, like I remember like living and dying by like each new Easton tube set that got cooked up and stuff.
Oh, this is so crazy.
Because there was no carbon fiber bikes really. Like there was carbon fiber, but not like now.
Well, like they did some like, and these guys did the earliest stuff like C26.
Yeah.
So previous to this, even.
Yeah.
But like, it's so cool, man.
Yeah, I was like, this was the stuff where we were just losing our minds.
Yeah.
And I only knew one guy when we were young that had a Yeti.
Was that Leach?
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe PJ. I can't remember. One of those two had one, and I remember I was just like gnawing out my liver.
Yeah, these things were so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and they didn't have it like. I got that one. I found that one online like probably 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
Trying to find one to put back together, and trying to find one in like heritage colors is so hard now.
Very difficult. Yeah.
So it's like,
especially if you want the ATAC stem and the AccuTrax.
Oh, I forgot to bring the TAC stem in.
I know.
I have one at my house.
Well, it'll come in. We'll bring it in at a later date along with my frame that I forgot.
There we go. A little more history type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's I can geek out for days just thinking about. We were trying to talk about at lunch like who are top 5 Yeti racers are of all time, and like I think we both put Tomac number 1, even though he only raced there for a short time. It was just like so.
But that was just like when he was defining what it meant to be like a superstar mountain bike racer.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah, he was killing it. Right?
And he did all the disciplines. Like you'd see him crush guys at the cross country, and then the next thing you know, he's rolling off downhill laps.
Yeah, it was so
and
cool.
he was like highly competitive. So.
And then you got like Furtado was obviously there.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, Missy Joby was a huge piece of that for a long time.
Miles Rockwell.
Well, Deaton.
I think Jimmy Deaton for me was like, kind of like, he was already getting to be a little bit, dare I say, a bit of an old school racer when we were young.
Yeah.
But he was just such a different cat. Like, he was so fast. Not necessarily ultra technical, but just
had no problem going crazy.
Just a wild man.
Yeah.
And in those days, that actually meant that you were like winning races. Like it wasn't as technical. So.
Yeah, and obviously they went through some weird times there. Where they're who bought them?
Well, Schwinn bought them.
Schwinn bought them. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, like what are we, 95, and then they flogged it out to Volant.
That's right.
And I remember in those days.
I remember everyone wanted Schwinn homegrowns because they were Yetis.
Yeah.
Just with Schwinn paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Mert Lawwell was doing work for Schwinn.
Yeah.
Remember that when he was helped design the bike, the downhill bike.
Yep.
And then Joe Lawwell
had the pull shock.
Was on it, and then that got eventually turned into the Yeti downhill bike when those guys kind of regrouped with Volant or whatever. Those Volant years were pretty short-lived, which was good because I actually thought that was the end of them.
Yeah, the bikes were gross.
And they was it was obviously just a sort of a almost an afterthought. And then when the Yeti guys bought it back, I remember being like, wow, this is cool.
We were going to check to see what was the first bike we carried after they bought it, but I'm pretty sure we brought it in ASRs and 575s were kind of our first go after the takeover there.
Yeah, when they kind of got reestablished.
Totally.
And then we were trying to figure out who it was that like on the drop-in bus.
It was
Tyler Clausen.
I think it was. Clausen was on a Super 8 at the end, I think.
At the end, but he rode. I thought he rode that Freeride Yeti for a bit.
It's very possible.
Briefly.
Yeah. We could be messing our history up, but
we could be. Yeah, it's possible.
It's
fact check us in the comments.
Yeah, give us shit if we blew it.
Yeah, if you remember this. But like those were wicked years because they were just doing like the rail system on the downhill bike and just stuff that was like
and they
pushing forward.
They kind of pushed back into like having some legends on their product too. Like you got Jared Graves comes along.
Yeah, Nathan Rennie.
And then you got obviously Aaron Gwynn, right? Just rippers, and now they got Richie Rude killing it. So it's like they've kind of continued the legacy of like, being a small kind of rider-run company that's
and they've really kept some of that like vibe of their early race team, where you'd get a lot of these dudes and dudettes that would go on to ride for bigger companies when they got more famous, but they really had a nose for like who could really crush it.
Should roll in. The other cool thing they do, which like gives all of us old boys misty in the eyes of these are these anniversary bikes.
Oh yeah.
So this is a
121.
Yeah. This is number 121. How many was it? 200, right?
250.
250?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the bike from 2010.
Yeah.
And it's a repaint and update of the 575. Like it's pretty cool. The yellow and turquoise is killer.
This bike, when I rode it, like when I first rode it, I remember being totally amazed. And it's aged not badly, but I mean by today's standards, it's pretty old. But
so cool. The King headset that matches and bottom bracket matches, and it has the carbon like the flex stay on it. Yeah.
Just like the level of detail work was so outstanding, and the paint amazing, and the bike, for its day, it rode really well.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny looking at a bike like this. It looks like almost janky because like angles are so different. No dropper. Like your handlebar looks like it should go on my daughter's bike.
Yeah. Every once in a while now I'll fire it up and ride it, and it's like, wow, this is cool, but it's just so.
That's only 15 years ago too. Like it's
not so much has changed with these bikes though. Like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's not even the same game anymore.
Not even close.
But style-wise, like, you're never touching this.
Yeah, it's deadly.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Except for maybe with the other bike we will show later.
Well, you want to roll that in now? We'll talk about some more.
Can do, yeah. Let's
do one more anniversary bike.
Let's roll another anniversary bike in here and get down to the bottom of this.
You still rolling? Sweet. We got our Vanna White bringing the bike in here.
Yeah.
This is this thing makes me so happy. This like early Tomac photo that Zap took. It's
that's just that's like
the start of my like his helmet, the whole deal, like the custom painted bell helmets and stuff.
Yeah.
Full on like Tomac love affair.
Yep. This thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah. So fast forward from the 25th anniversary bike to the 40th anniversary bike. Again, just a whaler. These guys did a killer job on this. This isn't totally stock. I took some of really whizzy bits off because they're going to wear it. Like I took the color match tires and the seat, the handlebar and the grips off just so they stay perfect for when I'm done riding it. But
this bike is just so rad.
This thing rips. And the color, obviously the color scheme is like one of the, it's either this or the yellow, right?
Yeah. So this is like this color scheme for this hits me even harder almost than the yellow and turquoise, because this was like so much of what was going on when I was like right into my quote unquote racing days.
Yeah, the purple is good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah, this is 90s certified.
Yeah. So needless to say, like we're pretty pumped to be giving her with Yeti again.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like some of these brands that are doing mountain bike stuff with like the deepest roots, these guys got to be right in that front of that conversation.
These guys got to easily be top 3, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's fun to sell whizzy stuff, right?
Dude, yeah, super fun to be so pumped on stuff, and I just love that it makes me like into a little nerd from the
14
from when I was 15 again. Yeah,
like totally. Yeah, geeking out. Yeah,
and you know what they say, man, nerds will inherit the earth.
It's a true story.
That's what I heard, anyways.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, well, let's get this wrapped, and then we'll bring part 2 down the pipe.
Part 2, we'll talk about some like stuff from like how about now?
Yeah, right now.
Right now.